Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I feel like I have arrived. Thank you.
Yes.
Being here in this place right now. I invite you all to do that with me. To take another deep breath, to take this energy in, and realize exactly where we are. As Charles reminded me of something this morning. The place you are sitting, the place you are standing, the place you are right now is holy ground. It's holy ground because you were here and you get the opportunity to be fully present and ready to shift your life. Ready to step forward. Ready to be all that you are actually here to be. Are we ready to let go of these ideas of lack and limitation and not enough? Ready to let go of these ideas that it's not supposed to be this way or that we're not good enough? Ready to let go of the idea that somehow or something is someone else's to do? That transformation that the world so desperately needs, wants, desires, cries for daily. It's all possible right here in our own hearts. When we stop and listen and say yes. Yes, use me. Yes, choose me. Yes, here I am to be the difference in the world. To step into our divine identity. You know, so many of us stick to this mistaken idea that because we've made mistakes, that we're not good enough. Somehow there's this idea that somehow because there's something about us that we've determined or someone has told us is imperfect, that we can't be really divine. That somehow, deep down inside, we know we're a mistake. That we're in error. And that we need to hide. What would your life be like? What? Imagine, just for a second, what your life would be like if you let go of that and lived the life you know you're supposed to be living. Right now, see it, know it, feel it. Feel that power bubbling inside of you, crying to get out. I've shared this story before, but there's a tribe in Zimbabwe and in the Congo. It's the Bembe tribe, and Alice Walker writes about it in her book, You Are Who We've Been Waiting For. And the story of this tribe is that when someone does something that is disrespectful or out of line with the societal norms or that hurts someone, everyone in the whole tribe puts down everything they're doing and they all gather around this person who is put in the middle of the circle untethered. And one by one, over a period of 2 days, they each walk up to this person and tell them all the wonderful things that they've ever done in excruciating detail. Every little nuance of their kindness and their compassion and their going out of their way to be helpful and the sweetness that they are. One by one until everyone is exhausted. Every memory they can come up with of all the special and important things this person has done. And at the end of that 2-day period of the celebration of who they really are, there is a celebration welcoming them back into the village and into the tribe. You know, this story has taken on a life of itself. It has memes all over the internet, and what I love about it too is there's all this chatter on the internet about how it's wrong. false, all these claims, and it's like, sometimes it's because they put a picture of an African tribe that's not this tribe, and say, see, they haven't done their research, they got this wrong, or this hasn't been proven, and I laugh and take a deep breath, because that's our voices too. When we doubt the intuition of spirit, when we know something is true in our hearts, but look for the worldly facts to prove it. What would your life be like if when you made a mistake, everyone gathered around you and reminded you of all the amazing things you've done in your life? Think for a second what your life would be like, Joel, as you hold your baby, right? Right? And you know how precious she is. If every day you could remember to remind her what an incredible gift. Charles, I see that little 9-month-old baby in you. And remembering that you are an incredible gift. See that, know it, hold it in your heart, and you'll be open to something much bigger than yourself. There's this story, this idea, this ritual is so important because it sets us on a track to understanding and remembering who we really are. Often we'll hear this: who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? That would be my mom. Who do you think you are, young man? But who do you really think you are? It's used to keep us smaller, separate, to not let our ego get out of hand. But the truth of the matter, the truth is what we teach here, the truth about what we all have been drawn to this spot for, because you are not here by accident. You are not sitting in this spiritual community by accident. You have been drawn here because what we teach is that you are God. Right? Everybody take a deep breath. You are God. You're not an expression of God. Well, yes, you are. But when we say it as boldly as you are God, it makes us all quiver because we hear our mom again saying, who do you think you are? Well, what's your conception of God? As we talked about at the end of last year, our first principle in unity is that there's only one power and one presence in the universe and in our lives: God. There's only one. And if we really believe that, how can we think we're anything but it? There's only God, and then there's little old me. There's only God, and then there's this mistake. There's only God.
And I'm the exception to the
I'm
rule.
the exception to the rule. In Ellen Devon's book, The 5 Principles, the title of the chapter of our second principle is You Are God. It's very funny because then I watch as all the ways we back away from that statement. We back away from that knowing. But I want to remind you of one of my favorite Jesuit priests, Daigle. We are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human one. You are God, manifest as human. The early church fathers talked about that as Jesus, fully human and fully divine, all at once. Absolutely true. So is God, is Jesus the only person that's ever happened to? I don't think so. Do we want to grow in ownership of our divinity? Laura talked about ownership today, about becoming a member here, taking ownership. How about taking membership of our spiritual identity? Ownership, full membership in our spiritual identity. You know, our second principle, our second unity principle is that we are divine, right? But there's some interesting ways we talk about it. This is Ellen Davenport's, in that same book where she says, You Are God is the chapter. Human beings have a spark of divinity within them, the Christ spirit within. Their very essence is of God, and therefore they are inherently good. How many words can we put between you and God? I am God, right? A spark of divinity, like a raisin in a bun, as Eric Butterworth would say. But he also reminds us that you are not God. You are not. God is not in you like a raisin is in a bun, but like the ocean is in a wave. God is in you like the ocean is in a wave. Every part, every molecule, every cell, every part of you is divine. No exceptions, no exclusions, no ifs, ands, or buts. Then I ran across another one. We are spiritual beings created in God's image. You like that, it's Genesis, right? The Spirit of God lives within each person. Therefore, we are all inherently good. So God has a condo somewhere inside of me. Some separate walled off timeshare that he comes or she comes and visits occasionally. Then last night I went onto our website and found ours. All people have a divine God essence within them. Therefore, the true nature of all people is good. So we don't say what we really believe on our website. So how would you sit in the church and know what's really true? What if we put on the website, you are divine? That's our second principle. You are divine. Or, can we say that? I am God. Everybody want to do that, or everybody's scared to do that? I am God. Because I am God. And the reason we might resist it, and you feel that resistance, feel that discomfort right now, right? Feel that discomfort because what you're thinking is important. What you're thinking is that's egoic. Oh, I can't be God. I can't be God. Well, if we teach that our thoughts are creative and that you can create the life you want, isn't that an attribute of God? So what other attributes of God are you putting on this situation? Is it Hebrew Scriptures, Old Testament kind of God who turns people into a pillar of salt? So that we're afraid that we're God, then we're going to be vengeful and spiteful and send plagues onto our enemies. Some of us might think that's fun. Some of us might think that that's actually a good idea. But how about if we really take a deep breath and understand our concept of God, right? That God isn't a being in heaven, but beingness itself. The ground of all being. And God is an energy everywhere present. Everywhere. There is no place God is not. Again, I am God and I am compassionate. I am God and I am all those wonderful things that the whole village just came around and showed me again. I am God and I get to be love. Love in this world. I am God and I care for the planet because it is God as well. I am God. I am just, loving, respectful, patient, kind, supportive, understanding, strong, infinite, eternal. Okay? When you understand that that's what you mean when you say, I am God, you're saying that I am not just this body, that I am an eternal, loving being, here to do that work. You know, I may be sweeping the floors or cleaning toilets and changing diapers, but I'm here to be eternal, compassionate love. Nothing less. I am God. You are God. And how could I ever treat you as anything less Teilhard also talks about evolution. And Charles sang about the shaping of the river, the stone by the river, that we're all evolving to something higher, and our rough edges are made smooth, and we're made into this beautiful, beautiful creature by the process of life itself, and about the energy of and from God. Teilhard says that we are all evolving to the Christ consciousness, the Alpha and the Omega, from the beginning all the way to the end, and that the true form of evolution is spiritual evolution, not physical. That as we release all the physicality, that we're all evolving back to oneness with God. The only choice we have is when, right? It's required. This is our job to do, is to be the oneness, the expression of the divine in life. So do you want to do it now? Do you want to come back? Do you want to do it again and again? And doesn't the world need you right now to show up?
Yes.
I know I do. I know I get the opportunities to show up in so many ways, and luckily I have lots of partners to help remind me that that's what I'm supposed to be doing when I'm not, or when I'm complaining about what I'm supposed to be doing. It's so funny, you know, as human beings, we're really funny. I signed up for this ride, right? Whether you believe in, you know, soul agreements. If you've never heard of a soul agreement, it means shortly that you come to this planet in this incarnation by choice, consciously, before you get here. But even if that is or not true, doesn't matter for this talk. I signed up for this ride as a minister. I went to school, I said yes, I got ordained, I got to this spot, and then I started complaining about it. And how many of us have done that, right? Oh yeah, I want to be a musician, right? Oh yeah, life is hard to be a musician, but I want to be a musician. We sign up for the ride, for the experience, for the role. Mother, father, sister, husband, wife, parent, child, minister, leader, teacher, and then don't want to show up fully. So what if we took a step back and realized that that's only the voice in our head trying desperately to keep us separate, trying desperately to make us understand that we are not part of the one. And what if that voice was lying? What if? Paul Hasselbeck says it this way. Our seeming individual mind is a state of consciousness within the one mind. So the thoughts you think that you're separate still exist inside of God. So even if you think you're separate, you're not. But that consciousness, it erroneously believes that it is separate from the oneness. It is a state of consciousness that erroneously believes that it's separate. Marianne Williamson talks about it this way. When you turn your back to the sun, to the light, you think that God is dead. Right? And all you have to do is turn around and face it. Carlos Anderson, a minister at Unity of New York that Charles and I were talking about earlier, Carlos talked about it like in the 23rd Psalm, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Well, it's only a shadow, it's not real death. You're walking away from the sun, and your body, your being, your consciousness is casting the shadow. Get that? Your consciousness, your body, your being, your thoughts are the ones casting the shadow. It's you who are blocking the light. And all we have to do is realize it. And it shifts. When we realize the shadow is nothing but a blocking of the light, it ceases to be so scary. And as Deanne talked about last week, then we realize that it's fear, it's not real. False evidence appearing real. It's false evidence. We get to step out of it and be something else. We get to be bigger. I am a magnificent expression of God. I am a magnificent expression of the divine. I choose today not to hide my light. I choose today to be bold and big and to stand on the rooftop and say, I love you. I love you. And I am here to love you. I am here to make a difference for all beings and for the planet itself. And you say, I am a magnificent expression of the divine.
I am a magnificent expression of the divine.
I am God.
I am God.
I am love.
I am love.
I am powerful.
I am powerful.
I am patient.
I am patient.
I am important.
I am important.
I am eternal.
I am eternal.
I am God.
I am God.
Our second principle, we gloss over and we obfuscate with words. We put distance between it so that we have an escape clause. An escape clause to our true destiny and our true understanding of our theology and our principles. Teilhard was onto this years ago. And everywhere on earth at this moment, we are not alone in this movement. This is the awakening of the planet. A new spiritual atmosphere created by the appearance of the idea of evolution. And spiritual evolution is afloat in a state of extreme mutual sensitivity, a love of God and faith in the world. Two essential components of the ultra-human, where our humanness and our divinity get to meet in time and space, right here and right now, when you get to be fully human, fully divine, and own them both. Yes, I'm in this body, but I won't be in it forever, and that doesn't mean I won't be here forever. The ultimate presence is love, is God, is you, is you. Love, wastefully, boldly, courageously, compassionately, stridently, for they are all expressions, your unique and irreplaceable expressions of divinity. You are God. I am God. Let's start acting like it. Let's start behaving like every word and everything we do matters. Well, that's the truth. Let's take this to our time of meditation.